Okay, hello everybody. It is Narrative Tarot, and I am here for Moon Reading March. Moon Reading March 2021. So this reading is for people who have significant moon transits, meaning that the transits kind of affect you, your life, things like that. So you would kind of have to have some knowledge of your natal chart. It could also be for people who have significant Cancer placements in their chart as well. But the primary focus is for the planet, the moon, which is really a luminary that, for astrology and stuff like that, we need a planet. Okay, so comment, like, subscribe to the channel. I do monthly planet readings. I have up so far, I think about, I think 5. This will be the 6th one if I'm correct. And so comment, like, subscribe. Liking and commenting builds engagement. It gets populated more and more across YouTube for more people to see. And then subscribing just keep you in the loop. I do monthly readings for the planet. I do book reviews, other different readings, things like that. Redemption readings, you can check those out. Those are the ones that have the little stained glass windows. I'm going to do another kind of reading. So I really hope to see you there, I guess. So we're going to do 2 readings. The first is going to be kind of just general energies with narratives and advice and things like that. And then there's going to be a second one, which is a different format, but it kind of comes with advice as well. So, all right. Moon March 2021. All right. Since you guys are doing moon, you might want to watch the new and full moon readings that I do. I do those as well. So there's a full moon coming up in Virgo 2021, and that's going to be up by the end of this week because I believe it's on this upcoming Saturday, the 27th or so. So stay tuned for that if you're particularly interested in those kind of readings as well. So we have the upper world and the lower world. So these are just general energies, not necessarily opposing, but things to work through. So each pair, upper world and lower world, may be its own story, or it may fit the larger whole, and that's how it goes. Whatever comes up. It's not relationship specific as far as romance. It could be about any situation or any area of your life. So yeah, so we're using the Deviant Moon Tarot for this specific one. And we have the 3 of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles. Don't be put off by someone's attitude. You may be working on a project where multiple people are working together and there's one person that comes in on the last minute, comes in on the back end, and I don't want to say it messes it all up, but they may come in on the back end and try to use their influence or try to get out of doing some participation as far as the project. Just making sure that if you are going to let them get away with it, then can't really complain about that. But if you guys are definitely in a crunch, they have to pull their weight. So 3-on-1, telling this person, get it together, participate, put your full effort in. With this 3 of Pentacles, I always think of collaboration and how it's very important. This is one of the few cards I've seen kind of where everybody actually is working on something. So when you're working on something, make sure that there's nobody sitting out, no one, oh, I'll do it later, oh, I'm busy, oh, you know, my computer crashed, oh, my this, oh, my that. Like, cut the bullshit. If there's, you know, anyone who's doing that on the team, you need to let a superior know. You need to make it known to them, hey, you're not pulling your weight. And if they don't do anything, then you need to see that they get moved off the team, or that you make note that they are not fully participating. And so this could be a cycle with this person whereby they use their influence to kind of get out of doing the work, get out of doing anything extra beyond what they have to do. They are not a team player. They don't stay late. They don't put any effort in. And worse, they take from the group. They distract the group. They don't come with anything. There's like a big blank, right? So with this King of Pentacles, you know, they may have a position, or they may know people in the department or something like that, and that could make you guys feel like, oh, well, I can't go up against them because they have a prominent position in the company, or they know something, or they're more connected, or something like that. They're superior, or something like that. Or you know, them being on the team means something. It means that we're elevated, we're put in the circles that they're put in, and you jeopardize that by speaking out or complaining or something like that. This King of Pentacles could be manipulative. They could be making it seem like, you know, they're the ones actually putting in the work. Maybe it's because they spent the money on the project. So like maybe they spent the money on the software or the material, you know, the physical materials if it's like a school project, or they're the ones that they had to use their library card to get the research materials to get past the paywall or whatever it is. And so it's kind of like almost like, well, I got you this far, you can travel the rest of the way, you drive us the rest of the way. But that's not how this works, you know. Don't let somebody scare you into thinking that without them this project couldn't have taken place, because it could have. You just would have had to find an alternate source. So just be aware of people who are making it seem like they're the only like person that knows something or knows someone or is connected, because that's not true, particularly when it comes to jobs that are like corporate. Unless they're like the only person, like we know that there's those janky departments where there's like that one person that has to touch every piece of paper, and if they're the ones that are doing it, they're not doing their job, they're kind of slacking off and stuff like that. But with this situation, I'm seeing that they have a superior, they have somebody that is overlooking them, and so it could be someone who's older than you, and so that's a problem as well as far as standing up for yourself, because this person is older, they have more experience, they are essentially, you know, they're essentially one of those people that can kind of get away with it. But don't let that, like I said, sway you, move you. They have superiors just like anything else. They're not the CEO, they're not the CFO, they're not one of the board of directors, they're not any of that. They're just someone who's high ranking in your department, and they're not over several departments. It doesn't seem like that. So definitely they have a superior that you can go to. Make sure if you're in this position that you don't think yourself infallible. You treat people with respect. You treat people like they know something, like they were trained to do something. Respect their degree, respect them as human beings, because they bring something to the team. It's not just you. And I think if you are not someone who likes teams, then this is a very hard lesson for you. It's almost like I feel like you have a little bit of Capricorn or Saturn in your chart, a little bit of that. And so you may not like collaborating with people. I know I don't. But you may not like collaborating with people, but it's the attitude and the way that you go about it that makes or breaks it, right? So if you're going into it, make sure you have an open mind. Make sure that you are available to people, right? Like they can contact you, they can they can call you, they can email you, they can go through the necessary channels if they need to. Don't turn your phone off for 3, 4, 5 days. Don't run down the clock, because that's very passive aggressive behavior, and people rely on you, it seems, this month. So there's that. Next we have the Page of Wands and the Nine of Swords. So someone is doing something for the first time, or they're watching their child do something for the first time. If you're watching your child do something for the first time, don't worry about it. It's almost like this is a very overprotective energy where like you have fears and limitations and you're placing that on your child, and that's not how you should be doing it. If your child is adventurous, you know, they want to go out there, they're determined to do something, they're determined to make something of themselves, let them do that. They also have fears and stuff like that, but they're able to transmute that. They're able to move forward, and so they don't need someone worrying them or worrying at all, right? You don't need to be worrying your child or your partner or whatever about something. Let them be who they are. Let them be on their own adventure, because they have enough worries and fears. Think about how they had to get themselves mentally ready and mentally prepared for this journey. Whatever it is, it could be education, it could be career, it could be relationships, it could be whatever, travel, doesn't matter. Think about the mental shift that they had to do to get on their path. And so worrying kind of brings down the path. It may cause them to actually slip and fall, and then you're there saying, oh, this is what happens when you go out there, this is what happens when you go too far, this is what happens when, you know, you leave the nest. And you know, that's not always the case. So don't project onto people your failures or your experiences or your lack of experiences. It actually isn't helpful for a lot of people, particularly if they have an adventurous spirit. I think there's a little bit of honesty about self with regards to this. Like, if you aren't adventurous in that way, or if somebody isn't adventurous in that way, they need to express that, or you need to express that and be honest about it. If you have fear of heights or fear of flying or fear of traveling or whatever, you need to be honest about that, and don't place it on other people so that they are afraid or they are scared, because you could hold them back from something, right? Your words may cause them to hold back with what they have to do in the world. And particularly if they're ambitious, you know, ambitious and very young, where they don't have any ties, so they don't have any children, they don't have a serious career, or maybe they have a career that travels a lot, that causes them to be open and experience the world in a very vast and expansive way. That's something that's very helpful to someone, particularly when they're young. You know, between 18 and 30 is really a great time to explore the world. Generally, a lot of people, they're pursuing higher education, they're pursuing careers, they're trying to figure out where they fit in careers, where they want to live, things like that. They may be having kids, they may be exploring relationships and things like that. Worry should be dealt with, and it should be eliminated as much as possible, but particularly other people need to stop putting it on them. So if you're the person putting it on someone, stop. And if someone's putting on you, tell them to stop, because it's stifling you, and you might be slipping and falling, and you might notice certain things happen when they say things, like you meet people and then all of a sudden your energy's all fucked up. That's probably why. So letting go of worry is going to be very helpful in March, but making sure that you facilitate your own upward mobility, upward ascension, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that up current, like upswing, making sure you are the one who's determined to do it, and you're taking it by the horns and you're going forward yourself. You're not being led. That will help you in March. And then lastly, we have the Tower. the Tower and the Queen of Pentacles. And so the Tower and the Queen of Pentacles, just with the Queen of Pentacles, don't be surprised if someone who says that they don't want anything from you suddenly comes with like strings attached for something else. So it could be that you're down on your luck right now. This is something that you need to look for. It could be a pattern that you're down on your luck. Maybe you need a place to stay, maybe you need a job, maybe you need some money, maybe you need something, or someone needs something from you. Making sure that they don't have strings attached later on is going to be really important, particularly if it's a really close relationship with this. So the Tower is making sure that you break those cycles of dependency, of wanting to be liked by people, wanting to be admired, I think. So this is breaking cycles of being admired, being validated, being loved. You may struggle with love. You may think that love is very conditional. I say that it is, but not in that when you do something that someone doesn't like, they take love away. It's quite conditional in that if you aren't being served, if your needs aren't being met, and you feel like you're actually giving to the person but not getting something back from them, then the condition is that they maybe can't be around you as much anymore, right? So an example would be a relationship that you give your all to, you're attentive, you listen, you take the time to learn who they are, to appreciate who they are, you let them know your actions, let them know, you say it, things like that, but you're not getting any needs met. Maybe worse, you're getting ridiculed for the needs that you have, the desires that you have, the wants that you have. You know, your partner's pretty, not necessarily abusive, they could be, but they are just not as open to giving as you are. You can love them unconditionally, right? As far as, you know, what they've done doesn't, you don't take your love away from them, right? You can still give, but the condition as far as how the relationship plays out is now that they have to be distance. We can't be together. I'm going to have to break up. If it's a parent, I'm going to have to leave, move out, you know. If this is a particularly draining relationship, I'm going to have to call you once a week instead of 3 times a week or something like that. So it's unconditional in that the love is still there. It doesn't diminish or change as far as, oh, you pissed me off, like I rescind that. It changes. It's conditional in that the relationship and the proximity that you have to the person is what's changing. That condition is changing. So making sure that you are just willing to go out there on a limb for yourself, even if you do get thrown from the tower, even if it upsets people, making sure that you're not beholden to something. Another thing would be if you're in this mood of taking jobs or something like that just for the job or just for the notoriety, but just not just for the job, just for the money, you might want to reevaluate that, particularly if you're someone who burns out and wants to find their passion. I am getting with this Queen of Pentacles, you may be older, so you may be more like mid-30s to mid-50s and something like that. You may feel like with this Tower card, starting over is the worst thing possible, but it actually brings a lot of enlightenment. And if you, I mean, it doesn't really matter your age, but if you aren't aligned with some of the stuff, it gets destroyed anyway, and you have to start over anyway, and you become beholden to the universe's mercy anyway. And if you haven't done the necessary work on yourself, the necessary work on relationships, the necessary work, you know, intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, you know, the consequences anyway are going to be such that they're unfavorable to you. So putting yourself out there first, jumping from the tower, or putting the rope out there like Rapunzel or hair or whatever, and getting out of the tower when you feel those kind of seismic shifts, doing that instead of waiting probably would help. So if you know And this, okay, so this could also be linked to knowing current events. So if you're in a department or a field industry that is very much reliant on keeping up to date, actually keep up to date with it, right? So this is pretty much every field. There's no field that I know that stays the same way for like, 300 years. Like, there's new information that comes in all the time. Like, so making sure that you are up to date will help. If you catch certain trends, telling your department may make you a more valuable player. When the Tower comes, you're able to deal with it. You're able to bargain with this Queen of Pentacles, but only if you're prepared, only if you know about those shifts, only if you look up and put in the actual work to know what's going on. So if you feel like you're not someone who appreciates this field that you're in or appreciates the relationship, you don't keep up with the stuff, you don't keep up with time, you don't keep up with the new innovations, you kind of just, you go about your job and that's it. But people who generally are dedicated, they will put in necessary efforts to know when things are changing, and they bring that knowledge, they bring those problem solving skills. They've kind of run a few simulations in their mind or in software or whatever, and they figure some things out and they become more valuable that way. So with the moon, definitely, because it actually changes so much, staying up to date is very common. If this is about emotions, a daily journal or a journal where you have the moon phases and the moon signs, that might be helpful for you. You can write down each sign, and every month you can compile the data, or every 3 to 6 months you can compile the data, and you can see what things have changed, what things you have felt. That way, collecting data on yourself might be a very helpful predictive tool in the future, because you have collected enough data to see actual patterns with yourself. That way, if you felt like full moon you ate a lot of chocolate, or you went out a lot, or you bought a lot, maybe adjust your budget. It ties in different fields, being very kind of interdisciplinary with it, and I think that's something that will benefit you in the month of March. Okay, so now we're going to do the second part, which is using this cloud deck. So we have the shadow in reverse. This is what it's upright. We have, what is this, the change. And then we have the rain reverse. So making sure that you are aware and making sure that you accurately pinpoint issues and problems will help you change the best, and will help you kind of avoid the rain, so to speak. So this requires clarity when it comes to the moon sign. So people who have a lot of moon rules in their chart, because everything moves so fast, you may have a really hard time at catching trends, catching data, collecting data on yourself. So what you can do full moon, new moon. That can be 2 things. Track the data. You can track it full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon, and you can note the sign of each one of those, and note the month, and note the sign of, do that. You may not be able to do it every day, but start with a month. A month is generally broken up into 2 zodiac signs. So every month has 2 zodiac signs. One that starts like the 1st and then goes halfway or so, and then the other half carries it, because it's like zodiac seasons kind of start in the middle or the later 2/3 of the month in. So you have to kind of work like that, right? There's no clean month where like the first starts Capricorn season. No, Capricorn season basically starts around the 20 something of December, you know, the month before. So it's a few days, what, like 7 days or so before the 1st of January, and then it goes until about the 20th or so of January, and then it cuts off and it starts Aquarius season, and it goes like that, and so forth and so on and stuff like that. So kind of developing a system where you can categorize and catch these changes will help you notice other changes around you. If you want to do this, could just be something like this. Okay, you can look at possibilities of stuff. So I know the moon isn't like Uranus and that forward thinking, but this, I'm a Cancer sun and a Cancer Mercury, and so this is how I think of it. Sometimes if you're in a job, particularly if you're someone who wants to stay in a job, just think about possibilities in terms of technological advances and just things like that. Technological advances, mood shifts, things that people, you know, desire and stuff like that in the field, and then look at what actually is out there based on that. And you might find an area that you're really interested in that you can specialize in with your company, and then you can ask them, hey, I'm interested in this, maybe take a few free courses or reduced price courses or something like that, kind of get your feet wet in it, and then propose it. And that shows that you've taken initiative. But just kind of thinking about the possibilities and then searching key terms related to those possibilities is really helpful. Like, it's kind of like reach all the way into the future, right? A future where there's no rain, where there's any possibility, and then dial it back to where you can see, you know, dial it back to the shadows reverse, where you can see, oh, hey, we're not there with this, because you could be really far out with some of your ideas, but this is actually something that's trending and it's along that line. This is actually something that's going in this direction. I actually like these, and you can use that change card in the middle to kind of go whatever direction and actually learn something new yourself, and then offer that newness to your career. Now, you could do this with relationships as well, but I'm not really seeing it. I think you guys are kind of oriented with career and work. As far as relationships, let's just get one card. I normally don't do relationships wholly on their own, but one card for relationships. I'm going to take this one that did this. The Earthy. So, yeah, you will need to ground whatever it is, whatever your expectations are. You will have to put in actual work. You will actually have to make sure that you are paying attention, making sure that you're intentionally pushing anything forward with the relationship, and being open and honest about what you want to grow. Because if you're not open and honest about that, you can grow anything, or you may not grow anything at all, because, you know, there's no intention involved. So being intentional, thinking of the relationship that you want, the far out, most wild possibilities, and then reining it back in as far as what you can actually have. You know, you can daydream so far out there, but reining it back in helps you to actually see the limitations of human beings, but actually be okay with that, right? It helps you develop your preferences, essentially. You have to know your preferences, and you have to understand your biases as well. So if you are like tall, dark, and handsome, you know, then that's what you said. So don't be surprised if someone tall, dark, and handsome approaches you, and then you're surprised they're from a certain ethnicity or a certain race. Like, you want tall, dark, and handsome, but specify, like, specify what tall is, specify what dark is, specify what handsome is. Don't have such a box, but this kind of goes into understanding your biases and prejudices and stuff like that, and being realistic with who you actually are, and as far as a human being, accepting certain things, accepting certain preferences about yourself. You may try to reject them, but if you have certain preferences that aren't based in just hatred, then you need to be honest about that, and honest to yourself, and then honest to other people, and that'll make your life a lot better. So if you're having struggles with that, just maybe track dating apps where you are on there and you see people and you, I don't know which way you swipe or whatever, but you swipe or you like or send a heart or whatever the fuck you do. Just take a note of what their profile says and why you like it, and compile data like that. Some of you guys are pretty analytical, so you might have a Cancer Sun, Capricorn Moon, or Capricorn Venus, Capricorn 4th house, Capricorn 7th house. You could have Earth in your chart. Yeah, you could have Earth in your chart. Like heavy Earth in your chart. You might have a little bit of air. You might have an air Venus, but I think you have like an Earth, like earthiness. So I hope that you enjoyed this reading. I wish you the best of luck in the month of March. Take care, moon guys.